have a really cute surprise for you guys today. So of course, I told y'all before, February, the month of love, Black History Month, and I really want to optimize on this time frame and really get to focus on like relationship, love, marriage, that type of stuff. So I was thinking to myself, y'all probably wondering where all this greatness came from, right? So I have really great parents. Like, I'm blessed. I'm gonna just put it that way. And I think about oftentimes, like sometimes I'll get in my feelings about being single, like everybody does once in a while. And my mom just always gives me really good feedback. She always makes me feel better. She mothers on me, and she just tells me some really enlightening things. And I was just like, without saying too much, I was like, I feel like other people will want to hear this. So then I was like, well, when me and my daddy talk about relationship stuff, especially in the way that dating is today, because I've had to educate him on that, he also gives me great feedback. So I'm sitting there like, oh, we gotta get the parents in the video. Like, I don't even think they realize how inspiring they are. So without saying too much, today we're meeting the parents, okay? We're getting ready to go have a chat with them. So I just want y'all to sit back, get comfy, because the gems that are coming, y'all don't even understand. So just stay right there. So I'm sitting here trying to tell her how inspiring her and my dad are, and she's just over here being so modest. Oh no, we not. It's not that. Oh, do people say that? Like, they don't even realize how dope they are. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. I feel like a lot of times I hear people my age say like, oh, I didn't grow up seeing married couples, or I didn't know what marriage looked like, or I never saw that in the home. So for today, I'm going to share mine with y'all, okay? So again, like I said, I want y'all to open your ears, move your weave, open your ears, okay? So was marriage something you always felt like you saw for yourself?
I always felt that. Growing up as a child, I came from a family. My mom and my dad were married. Even though they weren't married for long, they were married. And I always wanted to have a family, and I always felt that I didn't want to have any kids unless I was married. Mm-hmm. That's how I was brought up. So I just thought one day that it would happen. I believed it would happen, and it eventually did. I mean, there were moments when I thought it would never happen. For example, in my late 20s, like 27, 28, a lot of my friends were married. They were having kids. 30 rolled around, and I was like, woe is me. I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to find that perfect person. And then I remember reading something about letting go, letting God. And I believe my soulmate was out there. And I just focused on my career. And I truly believed in my heart that when it was time, God would put that person in my life.
But had you had like long-term relationships?
I had a few. I think the relationships, I wasn't in that many relationships as a teenager. I think I had maybe, prior to your dad, 2 long-term relationships. That was it. One was about maybe 3 years, and the other one was about 3 years. I take that back. It was 3, and they all were like around 3 or 4 years.
So did either of those relationships, like, did you see that ending in marriage, like in either of them?
Well, with all 3 of them, I did. One of them I was in when I was in a senior in high school. And he actually gave me an engagement ring, and I was all excited.
Oh, I didn't know this. But this is new tea,
but
y'all.
I knew we had been together for about 3 or 4 years. I knew that I wanted to go to college, and I knew that I didn't want to start a family or get married until after I got my degree. Well, after the 3rd year, we ended up breaking up, so that thought went out the window. And the other 2 long-term relationships, I still had that same feeling. I let them know up front that, I didn't want a relationship that was just going to be, If I'm with you for a year, then it has to be something else following. What's the next steps? I didn't want to just be somebody's girlfriend. I wanted to be somebody's wife. Um, so, things happen in relationships, and the other two, even though they were like 3 and 4 years, they didn't last. Um, and I still didn't give up hope. I knew that one day it would happen.
Mm. So, how did you deal with some of the social pressure, like getting towards like in your late 20s, where everybody's, like you said, getting married, and like how did you cope with like feeling like, oh, well, when's gonna be your turn,
Right.
them type of thing?
Well, what helped me get through that, because it's natural to have those feelings, especially when you see your friends your age getting married. I was always going to weddings, and I would sit in the weddings and say, "Oh, when is it gonna be my turn?" And then when they started having babies, when am I gonna have a family? And sure, there were people. I could have easily had a baby without being married, but that's just one of my morals that I believed in. I wasn't gonna have anybody's baby unless I was married. Um, so to deal with those feelings of when is going to be my turn, I just dug deeper into my career. I kept myself busy. I kept, I worked. I did things with my friends that I enjoyed, and that took away those idle moments of feeling lonely and wondering, will it ever happen to me? You have to keep yourself busy. You can't dwell on what your friends are doing. You have to believe that just like they can have happiness in a marriage, um, you can have that also. And that's what kept me going. That I knew, because I just had this feeling that I wasn't going to be a person that was just always going to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I believed in my heart that I always wanted kids, and I always wanted a family, and I always wanted to have a marriage.
Right.
So that's what kept me focused. And as I started doing that, then things just started happening. It's amazing how when you stop focusing on what you wish would happen, it does eventually happen. When you look up something, the puzzle pieces fall into place.
Oh, that was good, girl. So let's jump in, because this is what the people really want to know. How did you and Daddy meet?
Your dad, I'm sorry, your dad, my husband, we were on a committee. We were on a committee together with a couple other people that would put on, like picnics and parties. Would do, banquets, things like that. And your dad was always a person. I really, what made me admire him at the time, he had I think Tassie, which is my stepdaughter. I think she was maybe about 9 months old, and I would always see him sometimes bring her. While we would be working on certain committee things, he would bring her sometimes. And I said, man, that's a good dad. He's got his baby with him, changing diapers. So that was exciting for me. And I also noticed something about him. He would always like open the door and let the ladies come first. That was very interesting to me too. I was like, okay, there are some gentlemen out here. He was always like a quiet, nice mannered person. So, and then on like special holidays, like on Mother's Day, he would always call the females that were on the committee and call them and wish them a happy Mother's Day. Valentine's Day, he would call us and wish us a happy Valentine's Day. And that's what happened. One Valentine's Day, I had known him for maybe about 2 years. He called and wished me a happy Valentine's Day, and I was like, oh, thank you, that was so sweet. And we kept the conversation real short. And about I think not even that same day, later on that evening, he called me back and said, would you like to go to the show and out to dinner? And I was like, yes, I would love to. And of course, when you get off the phone, butterflies all in my stomach. I was like, oh my goodness, he asked me for a date.
Got you a little Valentine's Day date.
That's how the journey started.
So, had you ever dated a man with kids before? Because the women want to know how we get through this.
Prior to your dad, no. None of the other long-term relationships, none of the men had kids. And your dad had a daughter. Actually, he had 2 daughters. But he was more in contact with his youngest daughter. So I didn't really think, I guess you don't really think about that if you're attracted to somebody, if you care about a person, whatever they have, if they have kids, that's a part of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if I was going to be in a relationship with him, I was going to have to accept his kids, whether it was 1, 2, or 3.
Oh,
and
girl.
then
She's optimistic for that.
right. So that wasn't even an issue.
So how was it for you coming in the picture? Like, what did you have any concerns about dating a man with kids? And
No, I never thought about it because, like I said, I had never experienced it. So this was a new experience for me. I had never dated, and you know what? That question never crossed my mind, even when I was in relationships with other people.
Mm-hmm.
The first thought that came to me, like when you say you go on a first date with somebody, that wasn't my first question. Do you have kids? That came later on in the conversation. So it wasn't a big
deal breaker.
It wasn't a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
So if I cared or liked the person, it didn't matter to me if they had kids or not.
So once y'all started dating, like, how did you find yourself getting in where you kind of fit in the middle of, like, him having to do his dad responsibilities and
Well, I
the
knew by him moms.
moms?
being a father, and like I said, we had known each other for 2 years. I knew he was committed to his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to, how should I say it? I wasn't going to deviate from or allow him, how should I say this? I wasn't going to let that affect our relationship. When he had to pick her up, you know, because she would come over, he would get her for the weekends. That wasn't an issue. In fact, I really wanted to be a part of, you know, this is a part of his life. I wanted to be a part of her life also.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little hard because she was very young, and sometimes, you know, she got older. It was a little struggle with, because this is my dad. You know, we went through that phase, and she would like want to sit in the front seat of the car.
Shout out to Tati. I hope I know you're gonna watch this.
She want to sit in the front seat of the car, and you know, it took a while. It took a while for us to get to know each other, and for me to, you know, my thought was like, well, this is how it's gonna be. Or I'm battling. I have to battle between his affection and his daughter's affection.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you go through it. You know, I just, you know, stayed prayerful, and I just knew that I did voice, you know, when I had concerns about Tassie, for example. You know, sometimes she would, you know, how little kids throw temper tantrums. You know, she would always, you know, she was the only child, so she was used to having her way. And I would have to tell, you know, your dad sometimes, well, you know, you shouldn't allow her to do that. Now, even though I didn't have any kids, I didn't feel it was my place, but I also felt that, okay, I can help her with some direction with this. I guess because of my teaching background. And, you know, he would take a lot of my suggestions. And she's a beautiful young lady today, you know, but it was like we had a rocky road in the beginning with her wanting to have all his affection and allowing her to share him with me.
Mm-hmm.
So
just so everybody knows, my parents have probably one of the best co-parenting situations
Yes, we do.
anybody has ever seen.
Yes.
Like, my sister's mom is like a second mom to me. Like, it's never been awkward. They've always been welcoming. Like, we've always felt like one big happy family. Like, it wasn't never no baby mama drama.
never.
Ever. Okay?
Never.
So if you gonna do it, let's keep it cute.
Right.
Let's keep it nice and mature
Just
and
not
cordial
necessary.
and keep remember, it's about the kids.
Right.
Okay?
I always had Tassie's best interests at mine in the front. And her mom, Deidre, shout out to Deidre. Deidre and I have always had a beautiful relationship. I can consider her my sister. So my daughter didn't lie when she said that. You know, anytime we had problems, Tassie might have been having problems with school, she would call me and ask me, suggestions. I mean, it amazed me how well our relationship, you know, a beautiful relationship, and it is possible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, what made you see longevity in the relationship with my dad?
I think, I don't know. After we were together for a year, things were going pretty well. And I had to kind of hint around because, you know, I still live with my mom. He had his own place, and I would like sneak little things there, a little bit at a time, because I didn't want to overwhelm him. You know, I didn't want to scare him off.
Gotta play it cool.
So then and it's been so long. I don't remember. I think I asked him. I think after a year, what we were gonna do. Can I move in with him? And I was waiting to. I was anxious, kind of see what that response would be, because that would kind of tell me, if he's in this for the long road.
Because how old were y'all at this time? Let me.
Um, I believe 30. I think I was 30.
Are you sure?
I'm not, girl, it's been so long. I was either 30 or 31.
No, I thought you might have been 29.
It might have been 29.
Because
Might have been 29, because we lived together for a year, and then we were married the next year.
okay. So at 29, you was laying down. This is what are we doing? Vibes.
Right. And I'll also let your dad know up front that we had been together for a year, and we talked about this. So, and again, I didn't want to be somebody's girlfriend for years and years and years. So if we, we were going to commit to this to see where it was going to take us, I think a year, and some people, I guess it's different for different people. I had never lived on my own, so I needed that year for us to, get to see how we lived together. And things were rolling. So after that year passed, that's when I brought it up again. Okay,
so wait, let's go back to when you pitched the idea of moving in. What was his response?
You know how some men, he got real quiet, and
as he always does.
he gets real quiet. So he agreed. He didn't say no, you couldn't. So I moved in, and it was a scary experience for me too, for because I had never lived with anybody before. So we were in this journey together. And after a year, then throughout that year, I should say, we started talking about, okay, what are our future plans going to be. He always knew that I wanted to get married. And that's what it led to. We lived together for a year, and the following year, we got married.
Oh, jeez. So, time span was what? You knew him 2 years. You dated a year.
Yeah, I knew him 2 years. We dated for a year. I moved in with him for a year, and then we got married the following year. So, 4 years.
Foundation, 4.5 years. I don't think that's bad at all.
No.
So, I feel like I need to ask, because how long have y'all been married? Let's let the folks know that.
Ooh, it'll be 28 years in July.
All right, now.
28 years in July.
Oh, we almost on that big 30, that big 3. Oh, I got to get my money up so I can send y'all somewhere. YouTube, help me with that.
Yeah, you can give us a surprise 30th anniversary party.
We'll see.
Put that out there now.
Okay. But, so how, when you've been married as long as you have, because I feel like a lot of people, I'm going to ask this question to my dad, but I also feel like as a woman in the relationship, you have needs as well, and people don't ever give women the credit of having outside temptation. It's always like, oh, the men have all the temptation, but I feel like women can have temptation as well. So how do you feel like you've managed that over the years, especially after being with somebody, the same person, for a real long time?
Well, as a woman, you think about, for example, movie stars, and you see somebody on TV and say, "What?" And I say that very, "Oh, he fine," and your daddy say, "Oh yeah, she looks looking, she got a nice dress on." But I've never really thought about looking outside my marriage, because I love your dad. Everything that I need is in him.
Yes. So
I can't say what. And I think it also depends on the situation. I mean, how your marriage, the foundation of your marriage, what's going on within the marriage that can cause one partner to look outside of the marriage.
Do you feel like...
I think we've always been able to communicate, not to say that our marriage, I mean, we've had our ups and downs, our disagreements, which all marriages do. But we managed to communicate and talk about what's going on with us.
So in general, do you think infidelity is something that couples, relationships or even marriages, can come back from?
Well, you know what? I think it's a possibility, but I think it's going to take. It will take. I don't think I know. I don't know of any. No, I can't say right off I've seen it, because the people that I know are still married. So I really don't know if that occurred in their marriage.
Right. No, I'm asking like if this is something you might have known about a friend,
No,
and saw it kind of
no, I
still.
haven't. No,
Okay.
I haven't seen that. But I think sometimes you hear people say, "If my husband cheat on me, I'm leaving him. I'm leaving him." But you also have to think about and invest in. Think about how long you've been married, what you've put into the marriage. Are both of you willing to work on it to build a better foundation to get through that rough patch?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I know there are marriages that have gone through that, and the couples have survived.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay. So somebody asked me this, and I gave my answer, but I feel like I want to know yours. So, do you feel like in order for somebody to be your soulmate, your true soulmate, that you have to like everything about them? And if you don't like everything about them, then that means you're settling.
no, I don't believe that you have to like everything about a person for them to be your soulmate because you're not going to like everything about any individual.
Yeah.
You know, that's what makes marriage unique because each person is bringing their own character into the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are things I don't like that your dad does, and he doesn't. Some things I'm sure he doesn't like that I do, but that's what makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can't go into a marriage wanting to change the person.
Yeah.
You have to accept their defects and their assets. That's because that makes up their character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, I guess it's okay to let them know. Like if there's certain, for example, your dad used to when he gets something to drink, he have this ice in the glass, and he would always take the ice. He would always take the glass and just shake it around, and that just used to annoy me to death. So finally, I said, "Well, Dad, why do you do that?" you know. So I'm trying to let it get cold quick. But it's like little things, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure I got little things. I mean, I snort. I'm sure there are things that I do, but that ends up becoming a part of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So no, you don't have to. You don't have to accept. I mean, what was the question you said? You don't have to like everything about a person because you're not. That's I know human. What human do you know does that? I mean, maybe I don't know if there are people out there like that, but like I said, there are things I didn't like about your dad. I'm sure there are things he didn't like about me.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that we don't care about each other. We don't love each other. That's just who our makeups are. And sometimes, again, those little things, if they tend to start causing problems, that's when you sit down and talk about it.
Right.
You know, see if that person is willing. Again, back to communication. He knows that this annoys me, so and he doesn't even do that often anymore. But it was a regular thing. So it's just little things. You just have to, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a marriage, each person enhances the marriage. So if you go into the mindset, I'm going to change him, I'm going to change her, that's not a marriage. That doesn't happen,
Okay. Well, girl, I think I'm done with you. Daddy, you ready?
She's so loud.
Hey, so we back. Welcome, my daddy. Hey, daddy. Okay, so what was it like for you dating and being a father of two?
Was it like dating
And also being a father of two? Because, I mean, everybody don't like kids. So how was your dating experience?
Well, I took my dating experience really really serious because I felt like the person that was going to meet my children, I needed to form a bond or a trust relationship with that person. I didn't want to just bring somebody in to meet my children and they see them for one day, 1 week, 1 month, and then they don't see them anymore. So that was important to me.
So you were selective about the women you brought around you?
Yes, I was very selective about the females that I brought around my children.
Okay, so was marriage something you always saw for yourself?
No, marriage was not something that I saw for myself. For whatever reason, I didn't see myself as being a husband. Not really coming from a family of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
My uncles and them had longevity of marriage in our family,
Mm-hmm.
but in my biological family, My brother got married maybe 18 or 19, and my sister got married when she was 18 or 19. So those, but they once they got married, they moved away. So they wasn't in the same household with me.
Okay.
So those was my first experiences with marriage within my family.
So, if it wasn't always something you saw, when did you start seeing it?
Well, I didn't start seeing it later on too. I started seeing other friends that were married. I didn't really hang around people that was married, but I did have a few friends that were married. So I just thought it was all about dating and having a girlfriend. I didn't foresee marriage being in my future.
Hmm.
So
So, do you feel like as you got older and start having more married friends, you start to think about what it'd be like? I'm trying to figure
Yes,
out when
yes.
when the seed was planted.
probably when I met your mother.
You was just saying that.
Probably when I met your mother.
Okay, so what made you? This is a perfect segue to what I want to ask next. So, what made you initially attracted to her?
Well, I knew her prior to us dating. I knew of her prior to dating, and she seemed like a very interesting lady, a woman, and I want to get to know her a little bit better.
What made you interested?
Just from seeing her and being in her company, and actually she was dating somebody else that I was friends with, and I was dating somebody else, and then eventually that her and the person that she was with broke up, and the person I was with broke up, and then eventually we got together. And actually, I called her on, might have been a day or two before Valentine's Day, to ask her out on a date. That was our first date.
Oh, sucky. So I want y'all to pay attention to the fact that she was dating one of his homeboys, and that don't stop nothing. Just because they didn't work out, don't mean that somebody is completely off limits. Y'all think y'all own people, and that's not the case, is it? You don't own nobody, okay? If they don't work out, be happy for them and send them somewhere else. Okay. So what made you see longevity in the relationship?
Well, once you get married and then you start a family, that's when you start to see the longevity. That's when you start to invest in things.
Mm-hmm.
You get the car, now you get the kids. Now you get the car, you get the kids, you get the house, and those things those investments, it goes from 1 year to 2 years to 3 years, and then next thing you know, it's at 10 and 15 years. And that's how the longevity comes into play in that relationship. You're not really focusing on 1 year, 2 years. It just happens overnight, where you look up and it's 10 to 15 years later.
Mm-hmm. So I more so specifically want to know about how you saw longevity, like when y'all first started dating. Like, how did we go from like dating to you being like, I might be able to spend the rest of my life with this woman?
Again, prior to dating, I'm saying I dated, and then I at some point I came to realize that I wanted something more. I didn't just want a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a woman. I wanted a wife. So dating got expired after a while. I got tired of just dating. I didn't want to just date this person for 6 months, date this person for 6 months. I want to actually settle in on a relationship.
Around what age were you when you started having those thoughts?
25, 26, 27.
Really?
Yeah.
I was expecting like 30.
Well, we got married at 30.
But the fact that you start having marriage-oriented thoughts in your mid-20s is something else.
That came from that dating part, where you with this person for 6 months, and then something happens where y'all not together no more, or this person just got out of a relationship and ready to get back in, and you're not ready to get into a relationship. So that time alone is really, really important. That
Mhm.
time that you spend with yourself.
Mhm.
So for after my relationship that the probably the longest relationship I was in, once I got out of that relationship, I didn't get back. I just dated for a year. I
Mhm.
wasn't in no committed relationship. I told that person I'm not looking for a committed relationship, so I just wanted to date and get to know, build a relationship with them myself
Mhm.
before I started to date somebody else. So I was meeting people who was either was trying to get was ready to get in one, or who was coming out of one, and who was kind of on the same path I was on, that just wanted to just date at that time.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I'm starting to feel like that a lot of times men end up in relationships like with the person dependent on convenience. So let's say you out here dating and you mesh well with somebody, and at the time, you know, you feel like I still want to work on myself or get myself in a better position, and that's why I can't be fully committed to you. And so, and I see a lot of times instead of that man, you know, coming back around when he does feel like he's at that level, he goes and commits to whoever is there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's just life. That's just life.
So do you think it's a timing thing,
Yeah, I think it's more of a timing thing. Yeah.
but not necessarily that the woman you're picking is out of convenience?
Right.
Because I just feel like
Yeah.
if you thought somebody could be like a really good like person for you to be with, and then you don't make that round back when you feel like you're ready, I just feel like then you was BSing.
Well, nobody's gonna put their life on hold until you're ready.
Right, but what if they not doing nothing, and then they come back and
Well, if it's meant to be, if
Mhm.
it's meant to be, it's gonna be.
okay. So we
Yeah.
going with the faith, the timing, the
Yes.
what
If it's
God
meant to
ordained.
be, if it's meant to be, it's gonna be. Whether she with somebody, she not with somebody,
hmm
she not available, she available. If it's meant for y'all to be together, y'all will be together.
Okay. So how or do you remember like the moment in which you kind of decided that you wanted to get married? Like what was it like leading up to the proposal?
In my case, it was a lot of fear involved. As far as self-doubt, was I ready?
Mhm.
And was I ready for that type of commitment?
Mhm.
So that's where the fear was at. And so once I overcame the fear, which I know was probably just some anxiety going on, some being in a space that I've never been in before, the thoughts of commitment and could I uphold my end of the relationship or the marriage.
Mhm.
So all those things I kind of came into my mind as I was contemplating moving to that next level.
So you feel like you ended up just deciding like, yeah, she's the one I want to do this.
Well, I told myself, you know how when you make a commitment
Mhm.
and you say, well, I'm gonna give this 100%, just like if you was going back to school or if you was starting a new job
Mhm.
or a new relationship. That was kind of my mentality, was I'm gonna give this a 100%. And I even told my friends, I said that was in my circle. I said, if it doesn't work out, it's not because of her, it's because of me, because I wasn't ready.
That's
So,
deep.
Yeah,
That's a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah, yeah, but that's where I was at in my life. Where again, if it didn't work out, it wasn't because of her; it was because of me.
Mhm.
That I was some kind of way self-sabotage.
Self-sabotaging.
Yeah, that relationship where I was like I would just back out of it.
Mhm.
But I knew that's at some point when I made that decision, I knew that's what I wanted. I was gonna be committed to it.
Okay, so because I asked mommy this, and I feel like even just in y'all relationship and then moving into marriage and then being married as long as y'all have, how have you managed temptation?
Well, that's just part of being human,
Mm-hmm.
being a man, being a woman, and again, just life itself, where you just maybe find yourself in certain places around certain people, and I think it comes down to your faith and your belief.
Hmm.
You know, your morals, your values. I think that's what upholds that temptation is those values.
So that's what keeps
Those
men
principles.
faithful, is staying true to their values and the
Their
principles of their marriage.
Yes, yes.
So even if some men say, "Oh, all men cheat," and it's always something new out there, you feel like it all aligns with values.
Yes, yes. Self-discipline, values.
Discipline. That's a
Dis-
good word.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because I know you've been tried, I feel like I ain't gonna say who tried you, but we know who tried you. How do you deflect? How do you lay inappropriate behavior to rest?
Okay, again, you stick with your core values, your principles. That's
But what do you say? What do you tell them?
you be upfront with them. Just like I made that statement a few minutes ago about the commitment and telling my friends about, hey, if it doesn't work, it's because of me, it's not because of her. In terms, it's the same principles or the same values that I put in place where I want to be upfront with people. I don't want to be.
So you don't give them no room to think that it might even,
well,
that you might even fold a little bit.
well, when you've been married 27 plus years, you kind of out of the game.
Right.
So it may be some dating or some flirting going on, but because I've been out of the game so long, I'm not looking for those signals, those signs.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that
so somebody could be flirting with you, but you wouldn't you'd be oblivious to it.
I wouldn't even know it. They had to smack me in my face. Like, can't you see I'm flirting with you? I want something. I'm saying that's not saying I'm blind, but just.
But even before that, before the marriage hit 27 years, let's say 5 years, 2 years, you know.
You have to grow in. You grow into marriage. Marriage just doesn't happen overnight. You grow just like you fell in love and you grew. You went from a like to a love. The same thing with marriage. As those years accumulate, you fall into that. That becomes your life.
So I'm saying, have you always been upfront with women who don't act like they respect the fact that you married? Like, I'm good.
Yes.
You shut it down right through the gate.
Yes. And in the beginning, is that ring? Is that ring?
Does the ring attract more? Because I heard that. Do you feel like you got more attention when you start wearing the ring out? From women, of course.
I'm going to say 50-50. I'm not going to say... I think that could be a myth. But for me, I'm going to say 50-50. It could be something that attract that woman that's looking for outside relationship, or it could be something that a woman see that and respect that symbol or that sign of marriage. So again, it goes 50-50 or one hand, kind of like that.
Okay. So I hear a lot of men say, especially men my age, say that they don't see the value in marriage. They don't feel like there's much in it for the man. So what would you say to that? Like,
There's a lot of value in marriage. And if you go into your Bible and you look at all the principles that are in the Bible, and I'm not going to go into them, but through my experience, I feel like you can do more together than you can alone or single. So a lot of those goals that you have for yourself in life, I'm saying if you want to be single, that's fine. But if you want to have a successful marriage, then I've seen that I've gained more by being in a marriage versus me being out here by myself, doing my own thing like that. So I feel like I've been more successful in life through my marriage. And I think that society gives you more when you have that when you're a married couple. They see you in a different light versus a individual.
so lack of judgment more so when you have a unity that's
Yes.
Okay, I hope y'all heard that.
And I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing my experience, what it's been like for me in my 27 plus years.
You've had benefits.
Yes. I'm saying I've, bank account, nice house, nice car. I'm saying if I did that alone, it would probably be a struggle versus having a mate. Not saying that that's what I'm in it for, but it's part of the benefit.
Y'all building together.
We're through building together.
Because that's the last thing I want to touch on is I feel like I meet a lot of men who are in like that 25 to even maybe 29, 30 range where they feel like, oh, I want to accomplish this. I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. All these things before they bring somebody else in. Like they don't understand the concept of building and growing that empire together, and that the right person doesn't necessarily get in your way of you still accomplishing everything that you want to accomplish.
But to me, that's like, well, I want to have kids, but I don't want to be married.
I get a lot of that, and I ask men that. They say, I can see myself as a father, but they don't see the marriage part of it. They think the baby's just supposed to, like, pop up.
Right. You can't have one without the other.
Or they're satisfied with being a baby daddy. Was you satisfied with being a baby daddy?
No, I wasn't. I wanted more. I didn't want to just be... I wanted to be, again, you can be a father, you can be a parent. I want to be a parent. I want to just be a father. I want to be a parent. And a parent is somebody that is a provider. Mm-hmm. They're there for their family, their children. They're not just, I'm a father, I'm just going to show up when it's convenient. So those are my principles that I grew up on. I want to be a parent. I don't just want to be a father.
Yeah. Well, it's time to bring my mammy back in this, and we're going to have a little powwow, a little ponderosa, okay? Okay, so now that I got the both of y'all together, we can briefly touch on some things. I'm curious to see how y'all gonna kind of ping pong off of one another and collaborate on your answers. I feel like nowadays, couples and marriages, they have a little bit more help. So now we have, like I told you the other day about the 5 love languages book. And now we have this whole concept and theory around how people typically love. And so that actually helps improve relationships because you can learn how your partner receives love and how your partner gives love, and you can express love so that they are in a place to receive it. We got all this cool stuff now to help us with that. But back then, y'all didn't have that. And what I really want to touch on is the fact that neither one of you really grew up seeing a healthy marriage within the home. So how do you think you navigated love and marriage despite not seeing that in your household?
Well, you know what? I think that probably could have played a big part in how our relationship is today, because we didn't have it. And by you not having it, at least for me, when you are going towards that destination of marriage and commitment, I think that's when you really try to do all that you can to make it work. And just even seeing people that, as I got older, just seeing people that were married, and, hearing talk shows about marriage or reading books on marriage. You always ask a person, like, people that were married, how do you all get to these 10 years? How did you get there? And they always talk about communication and those kind of things. Communication, honesty, those kind of things stay in the back of your mind about, okay, when you finally get into one, these are some things I need to do. This one saying, never go to bed angry, It's things like that. Because I didn't have it. Mm-hmm. So I had to see and talk to people that had it, to find out, what are you doing, and then by me always being a reader, I would look into, books on marriage and, commitment and what's involved. And they always say, it's not, everybody say, oh, you got a beautiful marriage, but it takes work, like your dad and I have discussed before. It's, once the honeymoon phase goes, mm-hmm. This is who I married. I'm who he married. So now where do we take it now? Mm-hmm. You know, that doesn't mean that you know, the firecrackers, you know, they can still be ignited.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying you go through that phase of marriage. And see, with us, we got married in the same year that we got married. A couple months later, I became pregnant with you.
Mm.
So then,
Yeah, okay, here we are.
so then, where some people have a chance to really get to know each other
Mm-hmm.
prior to them having kids, because sometimes they'll make a commitment. They'll say, okay, we're not going to have kids for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew going into the marriage that your dad, you know, your dad he's always been a family oriented person. So I knew that he wanted to have kids right away, and I always wanted somebody wanted to have kids.
Did you want to have it as soon as you tied the knot, or you could have waited a little bit? She embellishing.
It happened when it was supposed to happen.
That's not an
So-
answer, folks. That's a safe answer.
So yeah, so as we had to learn about each other along the way, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the clock was ticking, so
For who? For her or for you?
no, we wanted to start a family.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
We lived in an apartment, and we wanted to get out that apartment and get into a house, and of course, with a house comes, you know, kids.
So, same question we briefly touched on. For not seeing it, how did you navigate and kind of come up with what love is?
Well, God is the head of my life, and it's through my faith and my belief in Him that I feel like allowed me to get to want to be married and stay married. And again, that family unit
Mm-hmm.
and building on that process, that's what I wanted more. I want to just
I think with us, we learned as we learned as we went through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's no book that says, okay, you know, the books give you suggestions and stuff, but they're just like when you have kids, there's no book on how to raise a child.
Right.
There's really no book on
How
How
to
to-
have a loving and
right how to have a good marriage. You know, it's through trial and error
Yeah.
with
Well,
anything.
there's people that been married. I know, like I said earlier, my uncles and them, they've been married 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
They went through some stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they went through some ups and downs, financial, emotional, spiritually, bankruptcy. They went through some stuff, but they was able to keep it together. So just knowing that they went through some stuff, and when I go through things, I know I can come out on the other side.
Okay.
I don't have to, you know, run because life is not happening the way I want it to happen.
You feel like if you drop the ball, she could pick it up,
Yes.
and you felt like he was a
Mhm.
provider.
Yes.
Sounds like a plan to me. So, what's the hardest part about maintaining a long and healthy marriage?
The communication.
Communication.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, you got to constantly communicate with each other.
That's
And then I think also finding time for each other.
Mhm.
Especially like when the kids start coming,
yeah.
you know. And even now that the kids are gone, almost, you know, it's still kind of hard for me because my job is so taxing, you know, but trying to make, you know, okay, what can we do? What am I going to do to help try to make it better where we have time for each other? I mean, like I say, occasionally we'll go to the show, you know, we'll go out. I mean, we plan on going to this Valentine's Day, you know, but a more constant, consistent time for each other. People say, "Oh, well, you ain't got no kids in the house. You all," but you know, I come from work. I come downstairs. He comes from work. He go up in his den. You know, so still.
So I'm glad you brought that up because people seem to have like this false myth of marriage that every day you come home, you
No,
cuddle up, you
no.
know, you're all in each other's face, and
It's not like that.
Now everybody needs their own space,
Right.
you know, where they retreat to and get within themselves,
Right, and then you come
get
together.
centered. You know, because you've had a long day, you've been out dealing with all kind of things in your life, your job and people, and then when you get home, you just want to go to your retreat and just kind of get centered, and then you're ready to communicate on, you know, going to the next phase of your life or your day.
So now that y'all said what's the hardest part, what is the easiest part about maintaining a long and healthy marriage?
What is the easy part?
The easiest.
Well, a lot of people get divorced because of finances.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I feel like when you take the financial burden part out of it,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes that relationship easier to flow.
Mm-hmm.
When again, like you just said a minute ago, I have her back, she has my back, so there's no separation in there where we allow things to fester. So again, it's not her money, it's not my money, it's our money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think again, when you take the financial part out of it,
Or when you figure that part out as far as what works for you in your relationship,
yes,
then it becomes easier to focus on all the other pieces
Yeah,
of the relationship.
yeah.
And I feel like that's particularly true for me in a lot of the time. Y'all want to feel secure and stable in whatever it is you're doing financially most times. And so by having that, it gives you the space to focus on emotional needs and all of the other pieces that kind of go into
Yeah.
maintaining the health.
And life is going to be like this. Life is going to be ups and downs. There's going to be some highs. There's going to be some lows.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be able to, find that middle place that refuge
Mm-hmm.
to go to again, like I say, get centered, and just wait out the storm.
Yeah, wait it out.
Wait the storm out, and then the storm is over, and then the storm comes back out, and you continue on with your life. But life is not just one line. It's a up and a down. And you just work with what you have.
You got a different easy part?
The easy part of marriage, I can't say there's one particular easy part because marriage takes work, you know. I couldn't even say the easy part is actually getting married, but there's so many facets to a marriage, and I think all of them require work. I wouldn't say there's one particular easy part of marriage.
Okay. So what have you all done to keep, as Mom mentioned earlier, the fireworks, the passion, the butterflies? How do you keep that fresh after so long?
Well, we've done little things like, I might text him on his phone and say, how you doing? I love you. Have a great day. Just, and sometimes after being in a marriage, sometimes you forget to do those things. You know what I'm saying? So you become complacent or stagnant. So I guess the same things that we did in the beginning, again, like I was saying a few minutes ago, you have to remember to continue to do those.
Ding, 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 ding. That's a good answer.
Well, I think personally, I feel like the going out on dates, going to birthday parties, anniversaries,
Vacation.
vacations. When
Yeah.
people invite you out, you go out and you try to enjoy yourself because you don't know when the next time you may get out.
Right. So we really do.
You try to make the most of those times that you're together. Whether you driving in the car, you going. You driving out of town or you on a plane, whatever, you try to make the most of it until you able to do it again. It's not like a day-to-day thing where no, it's like, when those opportunities present themselves, you take full advantage of those times.
Okay. So how important has effective communication been to the marriage?
I think it's important because I know early in our marriage, I would assume that your daddy knew how I was feeling.
Okay, I think that's
Just-
that's something I feel like women do that a
Right,
lot.
and I
though.
think we do.
want
I
them-
think as we
feel
as
like
women, we assume that they know what we're thinking and how we're feeling, and then at least for me, I'd get mad or angry. Well, doesn't he? In my mind, I'm saying, well, can't he see? Or doesn't he realize?
Ain't this obvious?
Yeah, it's so obvious, but because we've been on a couple of marriage retreats too. That's something else we've done to enhance our marriage. A lot of lessons where one of the biggest discussion was about communication.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to communicate to your partner, this is what I need from you. This is what I don't feel I'm getting from you.
Mm-hmm.
So, not assuming that your partner knows how you're feeling, but just come and letting them know this is what I'm feeling. And this is why I'm feeling this way.
Did you ever feel invalidated by him? Like him not understanding, like well, you making it a big deal, you being dramatic, that type of narrative.
Did I ever feel that from him?
Yeah.
No.
So you always.
He's
felt
always
heard.
been right. He's always felt. Anytime I had to share my feelings with him, I always felt that he didn't shrug them off as something not important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he would listen. We'd talk about it, and try to make changes to doing something differently. But I didn't feel like, well, you're over dramatic. That's not what I. That's not what I. And there have been times he said, well, that's not what I meant to. That's not how I meant for you to feel. But I know on my part, I'm a real. I hope a lot of things in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a learning experience for me to be able to even come into the marriage, being able to share my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Truly how I felt.
What about you? How important has effective communication been?
It's important to me. And sometimes you may not have to say this. It could be your body language.
Right.
So do you feel like you able to pick up on when something's off?
Mm-hmm. He knows. He knows right away.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He knows.
Before you.
And sometimes he'll know. I can tell that he knows because he'll give me my space. He'll give me my space. He won't say anything. That's something about your dad. He won't say anything right then, but later on, he's like, "Oh, how your day going?" Or what's? And then that gives me, okay, well, this is what happened, and this,
Mm-hmm.
So.
So you know how to find your openings to
Yes,
get in
yeah.
and
Yeah,
let
everybody
them
have
vent
to.
it out.
Yeah, everybody have to go through. Like I said earlier about, getting centered, coming home, and kind of just,
Mm-hmm.
unwinding, and then you kind of go into what happened, whether it was something good or something bad.
Mm-hmm.
You go into it, and then you feel relieved after you share it. You're like, okay, now hopefully when I go to bed tonight, I can go to sleep. I can rest because I've gotten that off my chest.
Mm-hmm. So before I forget, I want to ask, because a lot of people nowadays contribute like the failing of relationships and marriages to social media. Do you feel like if Facebook and all that stuff was around when you all were dating, it would have made any difference to the dynamic of you all's marriage?
Well, I think with the technology, even when computers first came out, before Facebook and all that, people was doing the same thing. It was just something different.
Mm-hmm.
But you could still, you can go to certain sites and do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So those things were still
So if you
available.
wanted to cheat, you could still cheat if that was your desire.
Yeah.
You don't need social media to make you cheat.
And back then there was magazines. Before it was computers, men and women, they would do magazines or whatever, whatever you needed to do. But you have to respect that social media.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give it its props because I don't think it's a tool. It's not for me to go on there and just share everything that's going on in my life, every detail. I can kind of put something out there and people can kind of pick up on what I'm feeling and what I'm sharing if I choose to. But I could just, kind of keep it to myself. I don't have to share every
Right. I don't think
detail.
social media like they have today is a place for you to share personal problems that you and your partner or your mate, your husband, wife are going through. I think that's something that, again, back to communication. This is something you need to be communicating with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said earlier, we didn't have Facebook back then when we first started dating. But I don't think even if we did, it would have affected the course that we took.
So do you feel like it has more so to do with people's individual ability to set boundaries?
Right. I think it does.
Yeah.
What they do and don't discuss.
Right. You have to
Especially
set boundaries.
If you're a single person, independent, yeah, you can get on there and share everything. But when you have, again, a mate, you need to be protective of that person and of yourself on what you expose yourself to.
And then it shouldn't be an outlet because if you're mad at your partner,
mm-hmm.
they did something. It shouldn't be a place for. And that goes back to having maturity. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you're angry, but discuss your anger privately, not on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that again that comes with maturity because I see it all the time on Facebook.
So how many times have we heard that somebody posted something on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, Instagram, and then maybe a long lost classmate or a ex or something, a comment on that comment, and then next thing you know, it's going around. You must be with her, and why she comment? You know, those are the things
Right.
that happen when you put too much information out on social media. That's been my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Again, if you're single, go for it. But again, when you have a mate and you married, then you need to be conscious of that other person's privacy or feelings too.
Just like I tell you about it. You can't post everything on Facebook. Can't let folks know when you're going out of town or, stuff like that, where you
Okay.
live.
Chill out. She's going too far.
But yeah, that's true.
Okay, so what's a misconception you feel like people have about love or marriage?
I think one misconception, I think that they possibly think that there's no work involved in it. I think, like, when you get married, you say, I do, and you start your life that is going to be the firecrackers all the time, that you have to put whatever you put into it, you have to put some work. You're gonna have some. I don't think they realize it's gonna be some hills and valleys. It's gonna be some disagreements. It's gonna be some things that you we talked about earlier. Some things that your partner does that you aren't aware of. You might not even notice that until you get married. But marriage requires work. Anything that you want to sustain or make better, you have to put some work and effort into it. And it's gonna be times when one partner can give 100%, and the other partner might not be able to give but 80%, and you have to be okay with that.
Right.
And then the roles could be reversed with it.
There's days you gonna
Right.
get 20 and he got 80
Right.
and you got 80.
You can't get
and she
upset
got
about
20.
that. So
Yeah.
yes.
And to me, it's kind of like a car or a house. It requires maintenance. A relationship requires, or marriage requires maintenance. So you gotta you gotta change your oil, you gotta change your fluids, you gotta get your tires rotated. You got, it's a maintenance thing. It's not just a one-shot deal where, okay, yep, I said I do, and then it's just gonna take care of itself. You have to put forth some effort too.
Right. And then it's also taking a look at the part that you play in whatever. If you all having an argument or whatever, asking yourself, why does that bother me so much? What is there something that I did to contribute to this, instead of pointing the finger so quickly
Taking
at your,
accountability.
right, there you go, that's the word, taking accountability for your actions.
And not being afraid to say sorry. Has anybody ever been afraid to say sorry?
I don't think
No.
so.
Mm-mm.
Because I think sometimes the pride gets in the way and people don't want to accept blame or don't want to admit when they wrong.
Well, I feel like when you've done some work on yourself, then those are things that you've already addressed about your character, and things that you know about yourself that you they say men don't cry. That's we know that's just a myth. But things like that where you're able to be transparent, and one thing I would share is it can't be no secrets. You can't have
Secrets keep you sick.
Right. You can't have secrets. You gotta the good
Everything
and the
on the
bad.
table.
You got the good and the bad.
Right.
So y'all know each other's skeletons.
Yeah.
Yep.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And the ugly.
Okay, last thing. I'm going to let y'all drag me for a little while and tell me, because, I've been telling the folks I got another video that I'm going to do soon that reflects on the fact that February also marks my 4th year being single, and I'm going to do a video on all the things I've learned in the last 4 years. But I want you all to speak about, why do you feel like my past relationships have not worked?
Well, personally, I feel like that you was dating beneath your level, and because you worked on yourself, I think you elevated your standards, and because you've elevated your standards, now you're able. Hopefully, you in the future you'll meet somebody that's on your level too, and you don't have to drop down to their level to be with them that somebody will meet you right where you at.
Okay, because the reason why I think I like the fact you bring it up, but also like I feel like there's this narrative in the millennial culture that you supposed to see a man and his potential, and that potential supposed to be enough, and you supposed to do everything to help him reach that potential. And
I think potential is good. I feel like somebody saw something in me, and maybe because I hadn't got that job, I didn't have that financial status yet, that education. But somebody saw something in me that I hadn't reached that plateau yet. But they gave me a chance, and I feel like I've been able to achieve the things that I was working for all along.
but by the time he got there, by the time y'all started dating, do you feel like he was at that level though?
I think he was working towards that. Yes,
But you saw action. It
Right.
wasn't just
And
about
right,
saying
it wasn't-
that, he could be good. He could
Right,
be a
he
good
was
man.
It wasn't a finished product.
right. He wasn't. He had some things that I desired in a relationship to start with. He had a job.
Okay.
Okay, he had a job. He was a father, and I saw how he took real good care of his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He got up and went to work. He had values and morals as far as he had a good work ethic, and those are the things that attracted me to him. It wasn't about whether or not, okay, does he have a degree? He was a working man.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't lazy. He wasn't sitting at home waiting for it to come to him. He went out and got what he wanted.
Okay.
So that's what I saw that I really liked about your dad.
It was action behind the potential.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
just good potential sitting there.
Right. And I think sometimes, like the question you asked before, why do I think your past relationships didn't work out? It could be a possibility, like your dad said, that you were desiring more within the relationship than that person was willing to give at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody's at different levels. We would hope we'd be on the same levels, but sometimes, it could be the man, it could be the woman. While you're moving forward, they're comfortable where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody can't give you something that they don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though
No matter how much you like them or what you think about them, again, if they're not ready, maybe they're not ready to be in a committed relationship. They just want to date, or they have other goals that they're setting for themselves, or maybe they hadn't gotten over their previous relationships, or they might have a baby mama situation, and that they may not want to bring you into that particular situation. So it's a lot of variables in there where things didn't work out.
right, and they might have even gone into the relationship having the same type of focus and ideas about what you both wanted, but then something happened along the way that made them back off or made them change or decided, no, this is not what I need right now. So I don't think it has to do with and sometimes women will say, well, what did I do wrong?
Right.
What did I do wrong? It's nothing you've done wrong. You were upfront. As long as you're honest and upfront, communicate. This is what you'd like to see in the near future. Then when that does happen, then you just have to let it go and say, okay, this wasn't meant to be. It was nothing on his part. He's where he is, and you where you are.
Okay. All right. Well, just know that if it's not a ring on this finger by 35, I'm moving back in. Open up my old room.
I don't know where you're gonna move to, because we're gonna be gone.
See, I told you he talking about trying to sell your house.
That's a whole nother discussion.
I'm gonna be here. Me and Bailey gonna be upstairs, and
Okay.
Bring Bailey into the conversation.
By that time, you better financially, you better afford it yourself. So we'll be renting from you.
no,
We'll be the tenants.
No,
Yeah.
I'm coming back to stay with my people because I ain't gonna have nobody else. Okay. You give me something for Valentine's Day?
Yeah. A hug.
Stop playing with me.
This is the only grown person, 26 years
Don't
old,
do this. Don't
that
do
expect an Easter basket for
Yes,
Easter.
I do.
Some chocolate-covered strawberries for Valentine's Day.
Yes, you're right. Who started it?
Hey, I love you, and a hug goes.
He
a
used to
long
always
way.
bring me a chocolate rose, y'all. Me and my mama, and he done fell off. He talking about he be keeping the passion alive. He can't even give me what he used to give me no more. What my gifts?
You got them already.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, we done?
This
Thank
is
you.
over with.